Welcome to Through a Glass Darkly. It is not the radio version. It's just the 1 hour chill, just kind of seeing how my core group of friends are doing out there. So, as usual, this particular podcast is just kind of, welcome. We'll go over like channel news, if any upcoming episodes, and then kind of Q&A. So nothing crazy, but let's do some channel news actually, because this is pretty good news. So I had my best day ever from a views perspective about 2 days ago. I got over 10,000 views in one day, which for most channels is probably not a lot. For this channel, it's a lot. So I know there's a lot of new folks. I think in September, I had nearly 2,000 new subscribers that come on after like a long, slow kind of, I wouldn't say drought, but it was just like linear growth. And then the Justin Bush episode, which I didn't think was, I thought was like, it was okay, but it just took off. That one has done really well. And then a few old ones like Stephen Schwartz and Lynn Buchanan, kind of apocalyptic episodes, have also taken off as well. So for those of you who are new to this channel, thank you for joining. Thank you for giving me for subbing. I appreciate it. And also for long-term followers of the channel, the usual request is, if you think you are subscribed, please confirm that you are subscribed and YouTube did not unsubscribe you. For whatever algorithmic reasons it does that. They may be legit, they may not be legit. I don't know, but just double check for me, please. All right, I'm already getting the comments, and this is the perfect forum for this. So let's see. Yeah, thank you, Ginger Norseman. Good to see you, man. Hey, Miss Tammy, good to see you. Fake Norwegian of Stephen Schwartz. I know it was like I would say it was the most partisan interview I've done in this channel. Not from my perspective. I didn't have the heart to get into a political debate with him. So I just kind of let him kind of just unchallenged, just to say what he's saying. And regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, it was pretty biased. And I get a lot of comments on that. And I just try to say, listen to the whats, don't listen to the whys, because the whys, hey, Deber, good evening. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So look, I recognized it at the time. And during the interview, I thought, should I challenge him on these facts? Because they weren't even, like, I live in a blue state, and like the net migration outside of the state, even with letting in like 10 million illegal immigrants, it's like net negative, right? So, and people are fleeing because the high cost of living. Anyway, I don't want to get into any political stuff. I think the whole point of politics is just meant to divide. I think there's a deliberate effort to destroy the nation state, and I think that's just what you're seeing. I think, just don't fall for this craziness. It's basically us versus the elites. It's not left versus right. That's just a distraction. So, yeah, exactly. So, I definitely have my views, but I don't want to inflict them on anybody, because everybody has a different set of life circumstances, and everybody has experienced different things that have shaped and molded the person they are today. And I get that. So it's best to just focus on going forward. And yeah, exactly. So try to avoid those distractions and focus on what's really going on, which is the oligarchs versus the rest of us. That's what it's really about. So anyway, so channel news, right? So we're talking about channel news. I almost got distracted. So Yeah, so far so good. I'd love to get to 25,000 subscribers by the end of the year. At current rate, it's looking more like 20,000, but that's still good. Um, it just feels like the channel's starting to get momentum. If you all didn't hear about it on my prior radio live stream, if any of you know who Kurt Metzger is, he mentioned the channel on one of his streams. And for folks who don't know who he is, he's a comedian. He's been on the like on Rogan show 6 to 8 times, and Rogan talks about him on his show when he's not there. He's a pretty funny guy, but apparently he's watched episodes of this show. I don't want to say he watches this show because I don't know, but he's definitely watched an episode, and I know he's watched an episode because he said he watched it, and then he recounted exactly what Lynn Buchanan recounted in that episode. So anyway, it just blows my mind how this stuff works. Ray, okay, so do I recommend? So I would recommend RV training first because it's cheaper. But and then with Monroe, I would, if you kind of have 3 grand lying around and you got time to get away from your job, I would do that whenever you can, whenever you get an opportunity. I would love to do that. I just My issue is not money, it's time. Like I just can't. I have a full-time day job that I just can't. I can't escape for a week without any contact with the outside world. Like it's just not something I can pull off right now. But you know, so is Lynn the man to get RV training from? Should I do? You should definitely do reading first, just to get a flavor what it is, and then so that you can make more use of the training. But yeah, if Lynn, if you get Lynn to train you, yes, that he's one of the best. He's one of the best living remote viewers. You should definitely highly recommend. And he's a beautiful human being. He's an absolute beautiful human being. Yeah, and then yeah, sign up with a good RV teacher. Exactly. And by the way, you can't do wrong with Lori Williams either. Lori works closely with Lynn Buchanan and was trained by Lynn Buchanan. So I myself I'm learning from one of the viewers at the future forecasting group because it's convenient and free. So I'm not learning coordinate remote viewing. I'm learning the Hawaiian Remote Viewer Guild version of remote viewing, which oddly enough also comes from the U.S. Army. It was just used in Army Special Forces as opposed to U.S. Army intelligence, which was, well, it was also U.S. Army intelligence, but it was designed in Hawaii in a Special Forces unit and kind of the intelligence version, or their intelligence assets. So, and I think that was also contemporaneous with the Fort Meade group at Project Stargate at the DIA. So there are different flavors, but it's similar because there's also David Morehouse has this massive roach killer that goes into exquisite detail about coordinate remote, or yeah, he calls it coordinate remote viewing. Lynn Buchanan calls his controlled remote viewing. They're effectively the same thing. So let's see. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to go wrong with Lynn Buchanan. So, um, all right. So I'm trying to think if there's any. What's this? Yeah. So Josh 1 billion is saying would definitely be interested in hearing your experience with the Hawaiian method. I know a little bit about how CRV works from reading about it, but I don't know anything about the Hawaiian method. It it was designed. Let me look up his name to make sure if I just want to get the name right. Um, no, it's not. What the heck is his name? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Nope. Yeah, I can't find it quickly. But there's a guy, his name's Richard something, and he was the psychic in the 1950s that was temporarily blinded as a child and so had to learn how to see without sight. So he was extraordinarily talented. So the army basically pulled him in Hawaii, paid him some fee to teach them like how he saw things, and then they kind of syncretically maybe combined it with the CRV that was developed by uh, SRI. I don't know if that's truly the case. I know there was some cross pollination because there's some similarities, but at the end of the day, you still have like a coordinates, and then the coordinates are, um, you kind of write your impressions. Is it man-made? Is it uh, human? That sort of stuff. Uh, but there's some differences. They have something called like Playfair, where you just record all of your sensations in this grid pattern, and then there's just a lot of I'm trying to think what other. Initially, you also just record initial sketches of kind of whatever's. There's a thing called Blackboard, where when you close your eyes and you pull up the target, you see something for 2 to 3 seconds, and then you just record whatever you see. So I've done maybe 5 sessions so far. I'm not very good at it. I'm not like one of those people who have like initial success with it, but maybe I'm being harder on myself. Like I get aspects of the target, but then I'll just go off. It'll be like way off in a different direction. So okay, so Lynn says you learn about your own psychological problems or just yourself doing RV. Did you learn anything about yourself, and can you share a little bit? I'm not there yet. You gotta do a lot of RV work, I think, to start figuring that stuff out. And when he says you learn about yourself, it also learns about how you perceive things. So, yeah, not yet. It's still pretty early. Ray says, I personally really want to learn about Bigfoot. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, Timepiece Adventures, good seeing it. Timepiece Adventures learned remote viewing from David Morehouse, so he's much better at it than probably I am. So, going back to channel news, let me see who else. So, I got plenty of like October is done, right? So, I have 2 interviews with Chris Lato that are kind of coming up. Let me see. I got to remind myself because I recorded these so long ago. All right. So, yeah. So, next week, I have another Nathaniel Gillis episode coming, although that one's been open to members, I think all members for about a month. So, if you want to see it now, you can just spend $3 and see it, or you can just wait a week or less than a week because it comes on Monday. Then I have 2 interviews with Chris Lato. One's on consciousness, and then the other one's on Kimberts or Kimbergaz. Which one's that? Yeah, the Kimbergaz is the first one, and the second one is about the control system. Then I interview another remote viewer at the Future Forecasting Group. That's Sean Mahoney. And then I do 2 interviews with a guy who's a PhD chemist, but he's also does soul retrievals. So his name is Michael Lee. So I have one on soul retrievals and then one on astral contact with non-human intelligences. And then I have yet another interview with Nathaniel Gillis on ultra terrestrial ultra terrestrials control and free will. And then Adam Butler, we do an episode that basically has been limited on monetization because it's about DMT. So it's a good episode. And then the second one is the CIA gateway process with Adam Butler, where he talks about his experiences at the gateway, at the Monroe Institute. And he was roommates with the guy from Third Eye Drops, the YouTube channel, which I'm also starting to enjoy. I think that guy's channel is higher IQ than my channel, which actually says a lot, believe it or not. But I enjoy watching that. Like I just recently subscribed to it. I think it's a pretty good channel. So, and he has guests that I definitely am interested in talking to you. And then, of course, Timepiece Adventures is just saying happy to answer any questions about RV. Okay, so Skeets is writing Joe McMoneagle's Remote Viewing Secrets. A handbook is on the Internet Archive, so is his biography. He was in Stargate with Ingo Swann and other. Yep, he was, I think, Remote Viewer 1 or something like that. Oh, thank you. Ray says, by the way, your interviews with Lynn were interesting, and I learned a lot. I like Lynn a lot. I should probably do more with him. I just feel like I've exhausted everything I could talk because I have so many interviews with him. Yeah, he's an interesting character. So Deeper is saying Nathaniel Gillis has been his favorite guest. Yeah. Well, look, I got to bust my own balls if nobody else is. Yeah, and it's a much bigger channel too, but it deserves to be a big channel. Like it's well done, and the host is. I feel like he has like a PhD in philosophy or something like that because he's on those sorts of topics. He's very well read, but I don't know. He would be somebody I would even be interested in interviewing. Yeah, but I think it's been around for a while though, because I hope because because he keeps saying he's been around for 9 years, but he's maybe 170,000 subscribers, something like that. So, all right, let me see if there's any other things. Oh yeah, I blew through that. So we talked about upcoming episodes, and then we just keep it free and easy for about the next 40 minutes, and then kind of figure out what to chat about. The other thing, I hate doing this, but I have to find ways to make this channel work. So I have 2 books. These are just proof copies, so you'll see something on you, and you can't really see it because there's green, and I have a green screen. But Hellhold and Other Stories, it's just my 3rd complete collection, and then Necromancer and Other Stories is my 2nd complete collection. So anyway, those are going to be available. You can pre-order the Kindle versions today, and then all the books launch on October on Halloween. Okay, so again, I'm not trying to push it, but what I'm starting to do is I'm just kind of monetizing all my IP, and every one of the stories I think in both books has been published in another publication. So an editor has already crossed my hand with silver because the story was good enough to pay me for it. So it's all reprints, because I don't want to put a story that an editor didn't buy because maybe it wasn't a good story. But those are all, I think, pretty good stories. But the nature of the story is kind of just like the nature of the channel. They're just the stories. It's just like the nature of the channel. It's where the paranormal meets military science fiction, in fact, only with an emphasis on the fiction. So, yeah, definitely check it out. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on like Draft to Digital, Smashwords. And I should put a link below, but I'm not going to go crazy. Anyway, I'll stop with the commercial there. So Ray says, what is your number one thing to RV that interests you? Just proving that we are more than the physical and trying to learn things that I wouldn't be able to learn through ordinary means. Okay, so D. Burr is writing, so which particular approach or event or way of mapping this stuff really lights you on fire? I'm not like an excitable guy. So particular approach or event or way of mapping this stuff. Um, I would say Keel is probably the closest to whatever this is, like the ultra terrestrial hypothesis. But at the same time, you have to be flexible enough not to fall into the trap of being dogmatic about what's actually going on. So it's certainly not just, you know, what's the word for it? Um, only metallic craft, only scientific. There's a metaphysical element behind all of it, and it's inextricably tied to the phenomenon. And I don't know if the phenomenon is just a control system or if, it's like a Buck Rogers universe where things are coming from other planets, where things are just tearing holes into our dimension and coming in, or if we just live in a very large matrix. By the way, that's the one I hate. I hate that hypothesis, not because it's wrong, but because it has the likelihood of being correct, and it's kind of disappointing. But, anyway, I don't know if I've answered that question, but that's kind of where my head is at right now. What else? I'm trying to think there's anything else that's a lot of crazy stuff. You have the drone wave in uh not the Netherlands, but in Denmark. So I some of that is going to be foreign adversaries like the Chinese, but most of it's not. The other interesting theory I've heard about a lot of these drones, well, first of all, anytime you move nuclear assets, they show up. So, maybe they're sentient plasmoids or they're like a central control system with crafts from entities that are more advanced than we are. But some of them are definitely non-human. I think that's the latest interesting theory I heard about is these things typically come during equinoxes and solstices. And last year, the drone flap was during a solstice, was during the winter solstice. And this current drone flap is right around the equinox, the autumnal equinox. So, it could just be a correlation with no causation, but who knows? And then Ray says, I really wonder why all the metaphysical stuff is hidden from us. What the heck is the point of I think there's a fear of human potential, right? You can't control the planet. You can't control the planet or the people in it if everybody can remote view and unearth all your secrets. Because there's some very dark things that the people in control do that they don't want you to know about, right? So, like the stuff that happened in 2020 and the subsequent remedy, they probably don't want you to know about or not. But anyway, I'm not going to say any more about that because I've already said too much. Hey, Pavlos, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Yeah, so anyway, you got the drone sightings. It looks like the U.S. the UAPADA or UAPDA, whatever the hell it's called, died apparently. Was anybody shocked by that? Any like Bueller? Like the government's never going to disclose this stuff. It's just not. There's no incentive for it to do it. So the only way you're going to figure out is if you seek the answers yourself, and that's it. I gave up on the government in 2023 in terms, basically on all levels, but particularly in this, it's a distraction, right? Their constituents love it. They can't disclose any of it, but they're just going to play the game and And then once they're disclosed, they can't talk about it anymore. They being Congress. So you can pretty much, you know, bet your house that they're not going to disclose. So you just have to kind of figure it out yourself. In terms of, I didn't even talk about future interviews. So I'm inviting Stephen Mira back, or not inviting, but like I reached out to him, said, "Hey, can you do some more interviews?" He said yes. So I'm interviewing him this weekend. Uh, and then I think it's now safe to interview Jason Giorgiani. I kind of avoided it because someone like me can't get away with interviewing somebody like that until the control structure kind of tacitly gives permission to somebody like Jesse Michaels. And given that Jesse Michaels was able to do it, then I feel more comfortable interviewing him. But he's somebody I've been thinking about interviewing for 2 or 3 years, and it was just too hot for me to, when YouTube was still canceling people and stuff like that. So I had to be very careful. Okay, Ray says, so control the population is some big ego stroke, I guess. Everyone dies, so why waste time trying to go? There is something called the Club of Rome. Back in 1972, they published a paper or book called The Limits to Growth, and there's too many people. And every 50 years or so, there's not 50, sorry, every 80 years or so, there's a mass culling. And you can see it. So 2025, right? 80 years. And there's a book called Generations by Stowe and Strauss, I think, or Howe and Strauss, something like that, or Strauss and Howe, whatever you want to call it. And they look at cycles of human history. And there's these like everything happens in 20-year generations. Every generation has a name, and 4 generations make up something called like a macro cycle called a seculum. Each generation is kind of called a turning, and the 4th turning is usually the collapse. And we are in the 4th turning. 80 years before 2025 was 1945. That was the end of the last chaotic cycle, which, as you all know, was the end of World War II. 80 years before that was the end. It was 1865. That was the end of the U.S. Civil War. There's a big kind of not genocide, but like mass killing in Paraguay around the same time. There are all sorts of wars and things like that. In China, about 15 million people died over 10 to 15 million people died. I think it was like the Taiping Rebellion. It was like a period of like 10 to 15 years, ended around the same time. There was a war in Europe. So we're kind of, that's where we are right now. So hopefully it doesn't escalate, but let's see. All right. Fake Norwegian. Oh my God, he hates us Nordics. Who knows? Yeah, he's definitely an eye-opening fellow. Okay, so Deber says people say that we get recycled, so keep each incarnation in the dark. If you take the Gnostic view or shape-shifting reptilian view, probably some others as well. Yeah, I think there's definitely reincarnation. I just don't know what the purpose of it is. It could be positive, it could be negative. I don't know. Yep. Johnny Topside says fathers will protect. Indeed, indeed. So, okay, we were talking about other guests. So I said Giorgiani. I'm trying to get Lavenda back on to talk about MK often. We'll see. I proposed the time. Let's see if he gets back to me. So no guarantee there. I mean, he's been super generous on the show in the past anyway. And then there's like on November, in November, I will be interviewing. So none of you probably won't see it until December, but and it still has to happen. But Pete Carroll, I'm going to be interviewing. If for folks who don't know what I'm talking about, which you shouldn't because I don't see many videos. I only have seen one video of him online, and he doesn't show his face in the interviews. But he was the founder of Chaos Magic. So, I just did a deep dive on him just on my own, just to learn about him. Man, he is an interesting character. He is super, super interesting. So, I'm tentatively interviewing him in November. Let's see. Do you like Archex? Jason Brashears? Oracle of Relfi. I don't know anything about either. I'm assuming Archaix is his channel, so I don't have an opinion because I haven't been exposed to it for whatever reason. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. But um, let's see. Yeah, so I'm kind of running low on future guests. Fortunately, October is done, so I have inventory up until like the first day of November. Not first day, but up to one interview in November. So I need to get I need to be chopping wood very, very soon. Otherwise, I could fall behind, which I'm constantly worried about. So I've had those times where like it's Sunday and I'm trying to get somebody to interview before like a Monday video has to go out. I that's not the right way to do things. I like to have everything done in advance so I can focus on other things. So the other things that I'm doing too, like you saw those short story collections, I'm also going to release two novels that I've written that one has just been sitting around for a while. So I figure I'll just put it out into the world. And then the second one, I just have to do some revisions on. But anyway, I'm just cleaning up the first one. Hopefully, we'll release that before the end of the year. And again, it's right down the middle. The paranormal meets military science fiction. In fact, let's see. So Ray said I emailed Lynn and asked if he could recommend a psychic he trusts. No response, but do you recommend one? Uh, you have to be careful with this sort of stuff. I haven't. Does it, actually a better question would be: can anybody on this stream recommend one who's safe and it will not take advantage of you? Laird Scranton. Tell me more. Who's Laird Scranton? Let me see. I'm just going to look him up. Oh, he's like Dogon mythology guy. Oh, he's legit. Dogon mythology and symbolism in the early 1990s. He's studied ancient myth, language, and cosmology since 1997. And has been a lecturer at Colgate University. He appears in John Anthony West's Magical Egypt TV. He lives in Albany, New York. Huh. So he's all in kind of the Dogon stuff. Interesting. Is he still around? Is he still around? It'd be interesting to find out. Um, bear with me. I'm trying to find. I also reached out to Anthony Peake as a potential guest. Haven't heard anything yet. Yeah. Okay, so he's still around. It sounds like. Yeah. So anyway, I've reached out to Anthony Peake. Haven't heard back. Maybe the channel's still too small. It's getting there though. It's definitely getting there. Who do folks have any other recommendations? Would Isaac Arthur say more about Isaac Arthur? I'm gonna look him up too. He looks like a futurism guy. Um, so he's the creator of the wildly successful Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur, award-winning science education and entertainment show with over 700,000 subscribers and over. He only did 400 episodes. Ah, that just rankles me a little bit because that means he's not working hard enough. He's just having better results. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, he could easily appear on the show, but I don't know if he'd want to appear on the show because of the paranormal stuff. Stephanie McPeak Peterson. Let's see. All the guests on a Flash of Beauty channel would make a good guest on Bigfoot. Interesting. Damo Mitchell could be a good guest. He's a Qigong practitioner teacher, probably the most famous one in the West. Dane Abraham Quirk, aka Saturn Root. Who the heck is this? Cernovich? I think I would polarize the audience if I had Cernovich on. And I don't think he's. Does he touch into any of this stuff at all? I mean, I would definitely have like Tucker Carlson on, but Ryan Seven. Why have I heard that name before? Definitely heard that name before. Is he the psychokinesis guy? I think he's the psychokinesis guy. I think that's how I know. Yeah, Cernovich. Cernovich would be a bad choice. Not that I wouldn't enjoy interviewing him, but it would be too. We get into partisan territory. No, he's the Seder Square guy. Yeah, that would get this channel banned for sure. Oh, that could work. There's health plan. I love the name, Patrick. Oh, that's like the Sphere Network stuff. So what is Seder Square guy? Let me see. Okay. So it was found. So Seder Square was found on amulets and monuments across the Roman Empire and beyond. This ancient puzzle was likely used for magical, Christian, or potentially Pythagorean purposes, and it inspired the film Tenet due to its thematic resonance and interconnected nature of its words. All right, so the grid contains 5 Latin words. Satyr, that's the sower, progenitor, or creator. Arepo, possibly a proper name or a reference to a plow. Tenet, meaning he holds, a Latin verb also central to the film Tenet. Opera translates to work or care, and rotus, meaning wheels. The words are arranged to form a 5 by 5 grid where the words read the same forwards and backward in column and rows. It can be read as a large palindrome with tenet in the center. You can also rearrange to form a crossword or an acrostic. Huh. So what does this guy do? Ryan 7. Oh, Saturn's black cube or whatever it's called. Interesting. Ryan 7. Saturn's black cube. Or Saturn square, I guess. Yeah, I could definitely look into it. It seems pretty interesting. So Ray is saying, do you think living beings can transcend to pure energy with no body? Yeah, I think that's probably what a soul is, or at least it's some form of plasma, right? Or just a form of consciousness. Again, that's probably a pretty ignorant view, but let's see. He's been on the Amish Inquisition many times. What the hell is the Amish Inquisition? That's an interesting name. That's definitely a strange name. I need to get Morehouse back on at some point. I haven't heard from him in a while. At all. So oh, he's been on. I have like 3 episodes with him. So Health Plan writes Tom Campbell, Consciousness, mentored by Monroe. Yeah, I've had him on 4 times or 3 times, something like that. Oh, tell me. You got one for me. What? Vision without eyes. You got to say, is that a person? I'm confused. Ray is saying it would be interesting if there really were Qs in the universe. Probably. The Qs from Star Trek you're talking about? Whoa, what's this? Oh, reading what? Yeah, I've seen it on Ian Doley's channel. Someone from the family of the Betz sphere. Are they still around? That was the one that the Navy like just quietly stole and replaced with a forgery. Oh, here we go. Wait, small town monsters and interesting. You've never heard of them? Yeah, I haven't. You should probably check that out. If I'm ever able to make enough money doing this full time, I will definitely like. There will be trips. There will be trips for sure. Like trips not to like wonderful, beautiful locations. There'll be like trips to like areas of where there's strange anomalies and stuff like that, and where we interview people and do all that stuff. But again, that requires buku bucks, and I'm not there yet. So Tom Campbell is a trippy dude. He's living on another level. Yeah. Well, he thinks the whole thing's a simulation. He's very convincing about it. It just depresses me if that's the reality. Um, that's the other thing I should talk about. Uh, All right, let me just see. Oh, it's getting better. Let me see. Okay, so some of you know about my augury experiment, except I played with real cash. Um, I played with real cash. So I, I just ran this experiment where I prayed to God and asked, you know, for me to be able to do this full time. In order to do that, there was a cryptocurrency that I was considering investing in that the remote viewers said was going to do well on the future forecasting group. And by the way, you should never, ever, ever, ever use this method of investing. I haven't in my entire life. This is just I just ran an experiment, and I basically said a prayer. I said and I had like a incense stick. I said as long as this instick, until this in incense stick burns out, if I see neither a raven or a hawk, I won't invest anything in this cryptocurrency. If I see a raven, I'll invest $5,000. If I see a hawk, I'll invest $10,000. If I see a raven and a hawk, I'll be really stupid and invest $25,000. So very shortly thereafter, I hear a call from not a call, a caw, CAW from a raven, and I don't see any though. So I keep hearing this call. So I stand up and look behind me and up above, and there's a hawk, a solitary hawk, just fixed in the air, not moving. And they'll sometimes do that where they'll just hover on wind drifts, but it was just directly above, kind of, maybe 45 degrees up and just sitting there. And then two more hawks kind of started circling. And I'm like, all right, well, that sounds like 10 grand. So then I sat down, and for the rest of that session, I was just hoping that a raven didn't show up, and they didn't. So anyway, I put my money where my mouth is, put 10 grand in, immediately lost $2,000 immediately. Okay. Now, granted, I didn't pull I didn't sell or panic or anything like that. Maybe it wasn't 2000, maybe it was 1500. Now I'm only down about a little less than 600. So it's coming back. But what I should have asked is how long am I supposed to hold it? So again, the experiment is still ongoing. I haven't I haven't locked in the result. So we'll see. We will see. I'm not going to sell at a loss, by the way. All right, I missed a ton of things. So okay, let's see. Well, yeah, I'm probably likely to attract a bunch of schizophrenics on that one. Let's see. Yeah, it could be a more sophisticated than that. Yep. Yeah, that's the one I saw. It was. I mean, it's hard to verify that it wasn't a trick, but it was impressive. That's true. So Ola Wolney can tell you about the Matrix. I should definitely check that out. A Perry's sister. I'm using RV to play the lottery. When I win, I'll donate lots of money. Yeah, just a warning about that. So Lynn Buchanan actually has a story about that, where he spent 8 hours trying to get the exact number for the lottery, and he was correct. Like he had the correct numbers, but he bought a lottery ticket for like the DC lottery, and he was 100% correct for the Maryland lottery. Right. So there's a trickster element to all of this. Like if you try to use it for your own gain, it doesn't. So I'm fully expecting that, because the way I framed the request was I would like to focus the entirety of my life on these questions and topics. And I can't do that right now because I just don't, I make vastly more money in my day job than I make doing this. So the only way I could do that and have the freedom to do that is if, I was making, doing, making enough to support myself. So Ray, no, I'm not. I'm actually West Coast. I was born on the East Coast. I grew up on the East Coast, but let's see what I saved a lot. I saved a lot. I could, but I'm paranoid. I'm paranoid because jobs are always unstable. So but I definitely hoard it because I want to be able to do this. So when I have enough money, so that, because I did take 2.5 years off, and I was just burning through my cash, and the burn rate was decreasing, but it was still burning. So anyway, I'm just trying to build things up. So Francis Scovell Shin sounds similar in small ways to her writings, huh? So Fred says, yes, that's the case. There's a niece that was interviewed in podcast. I'll look it up. Huh. Oh, Bitcoin is, you just put your money in and then just let it, and then don't look at it. There are serious investors who are saying that'll be, could be in a bull case, $1 million per Bitcoin in 5 years. Again, I'm not here to give investment advice or anything like that, but Kathy Wood said that and she's like a renowned, like a really successful investor. So, like I said, I have some in Bitcoin, not a lot. I have probably 15% of a Bitcoin, and I just let it go. I just don't think about it. That's long term. I think the U.S. currency is, it's weakening so much right now that I think we're moving toward a digital currency system, which is not a good thing, but I think it's inevitable. No, not talking. I would say I work in finance. I'm not talking about day job stuff because I don't want the two to mix. But yeah, I don't want the two shall never meet. So a Perry sister saying, I'm using it all over, getting statistics. I'm planning on donating most of what I win. Yeah, just don't go too crazy, right? Never invest in these speculative things any more than you're willing to lose. Like if I lost 10 grand on this stupid H bar bet that I made, it's not like I'll be pissed, but it's not gonna destroy my life or put my family in any sort, like in penury or anything like that. Like I'll be okay. But I'm not in the habit of losing money. Like I just don't lose money. I'm also super cheap. So like the last two cars that we had as a family broke down. Like basically the engines or the transmission failed because we just kept, and both over like 200,000, easily over 200,000 miles. So like we just get a car and then we just run it, keep it for like 15 to 20 years until it runs down. So yeah, we definitely don't live the life. Yeah, it normally does start at 10 p.m. So here's the calculus that I did on this one. or 10 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah. So I just did this one early because at about half an hour from now, I have to record a session for the future forecasting group. So, and I always do this one session on the first Wednesday of every month. And it's the first Wednesday of every month. And I'm like I try not to compromise, right? I try to like make sure it's consistent. Unfortunately, to that point, I had to compromise on the starting time because I didn't want to inconvenience the team that is mostly East Coast based because it's going to be like 9:30 for them when we start recording. So, but apparently, I just got feedback from someone at Future Forecasting Group, and they're loving it. So you're going to see more of me on that channel as well. But again, this is my primary source of effort. It's all gravy. So I'm getting there. And generally, yes, I like to do it at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, but today is what it is. So Ray writes, I'm paranoid, but that doesn't mean they're not talking about me. So Observer saying Frenchel Scovel Shin, the game of life and how to play it. It's all over the place for free. It's 100 years old. Interesting. Okay. Solite US Expat. I just got here because I just woke up. Have you spoken to Lynn since Jason Giorgiani dropped Lynn's? Oh, I bet you he doesn't even know about it. Or maybe he does. I have not spoken to Lynn about that yet. Logan Clark said, I asked Dr. Brandenburger what his gut feel was about Three Eye Atlas. And I think I annoyed him. He was very sassy, but he answered. No, not really. It's more like startup stuff. That's about it. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. They said Dick Algier was really pushing HBAR for like 2 years now. So Solite US Expat saying, since it's October, did you see the interview with the guy in North Carolina who, while was on the phone with the 9/11 operator, a non-human entity jumped into his truck? It was white, no face, 7 p.m. at least. Wow. I did not see that. Okay, so Observer said you should look into early 20th century spirituality. It repeats again in the 60s, then 90s, now 20s again. It's a weird pattern. Real began after the Civil War. So much is cyclical. Yeah, I'm talking to a guy. I was talking earlier about Pete Carroll. I'm really looking forward to talking to him. Ray says I'd really like to meet Lynn and see him do the rock through a metal plate trick. It would blow my. I don't know if he still does that, but yeah. Solite USA. So damn, you're at 17.2K. How many members are you adding every 4 weeks? So this month I added close to 1.9K. Yeah. Like things took off in the last 2 weeks or so. Now, granted, sometimes you'll get a spike and then it'll normalize, but here's hoping that the spike continues. Hey, Spiritual Ascension, good to see you. Logan Clark says Lynn knew about you, Giorgiani saying it before he said, yeah, probably. 7 foot, I mean, meant. Wait. I missed that. I'm confused. All right. I gotta jump now. It's been an hour. I gotta get to these remote viewers. So it was good seeing everybody. We do this again once a week. Oh, the entity was at least 7 feet. Yeah. I picked that up in the first. Yeah, or yeah, I understood what you're talking about. Yeah. Anyway, I got to go to this next thing. So peace, everyone. And yeah, thank you. Sorry it was so. I mean, this is I normally do an hour. So good to see you, Oracle. Well, later, Pavlos. They still do dowsing, by the way. I was talking to a friend in Provo, Utah. They still do it, like to when they do like site new places. Thanks, Josh 1 billion. Thanks, health plan. Indeed. All right. Good night, everyone, and God bless you. It would be a great show. All right. Talk soon.
Breaking news.